I'm Kim Broad and today I'll be presenting a lesson to Year 1 students between the ages of 7 and 8 on the maths phenomenon tessellation in nature. Now these students have prior knowledge of two-dimensional shapes and are beginning to classify their shapes as quadrilaterals, pentagons, hexagons and octagons. This is as per the New South Wales syllabus MA115MG. Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be speaking about shapes and shapes that we can see in nature. And let's have a think. Where have we seen shapes in nature before? Good work, yes, on butterfly wings, and they're beautiful. Good, and on snake skin, you're right. Boys and girls, these are shapes, and shapes are everywhere in nature. And nature often uses shapes to create certain patterns. Now there is one type of pattern we're going to speak about today, and this type of pattern uses shapes in a very special way. The shapes cover a whole surface, and the shapes do not overlap, and there are no gaps. Can anybody tell me what overlapping means? Yes, you're right. Overlapping is when one shape is covered by another shape. Now when this red shape is covered by the green shape, can we see the whole red shape? No, you're right, we can't. In these shapes, in these patterns, we can see the whole shape, and the shapes have no gaps, which means they fit nicely together. Let's have a look at an example of this pattern. Let's have a look at this snake skin. If we have a look at this snake skin nice and closely, can we see a pattern? We can, can't we? And what shape is making up this pattern? Good, they are squares, and we know they're squares because they have how many sides? 4 sides, good. What else can we call squares because they have 4 sides? Good, you're right, quadrilaterals. These quadrilaterals, are they overlapping? No, they're not. And do they have any gaps? No, they don't. This, boys and girls, this is called tessellation, and nature uses tessellation in so many different things. Let's have a look at some more examples and let's have a think. Do you think nature uses other shapes other than quadrilaterals to create tessellation? You're not sure? Let's have a look at this beehive. What can we see? What shapes? Good, we can see hexagons, and we know they're hexagons because they have 6 sides. Good work. Are they overlapping? No. And are there gaps between the hexagons? No, there's not. Good work. This is also tessellation. Let's have a look at a fruit. Yes, sort of fruit. Tessellation can also be in fruit. Do we know what this fruit is? It's a lime. Good work. And I've cut the lime in half, and can you see what shapes are in there? Good. We can see triangles. They have 3 sides. And no, the shapes are not overlapping. And no, the triangles are do not have gaps. So this is also tessellation. Let's look at one more fruit. Here we have a pineapple. What shape can we see? Good work, we can see quadrilaterals. And are these quadrilaterals overlapping? No. And do they have any gaps in between the quadrilaterals? No. What do we call this pattern? Good work. This is called tessellation because the shapes do not overlap and they do not have any gaps. Boys and girls, we have talked about the shapes that create tessellation in nature, and we have seen quadrilaterals, hexagons, and triangles. So now we are going to do an activity, and we're going to use these shapes to create our own tessellation patterns. We are going to use just one shape, but you can use as many colours as you would like in that there is in that shape. I'm going to use a triangle, and I'm going to use it in 2 colours. And I'm going to use it to cover this surface. So I'm going to use a yellow triangle and blue triangles to cover the surface, and I'm going to create a tessellation pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my glue and I'm going to put a little bit on the back of the yellow, and I'm going to stick it on there, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of the blue. Now you're going to do this a lot neater than me. But am I going to make them overlap like that? No, I'm not. Am I going to leave a big gap like this? Why not? because tessellation, boys and girls, does not have gaps and they do not overlap. You are right. So I'm going to make them very neat. And I'm going to continue my pattern. This is one that I did a little bit earlier. This is my tessellation pattern. Can you see that? There is no overlapping and there's no gaps. Good work. You're going to have 15 minutes to create your tessellation pattern. Be creative. We can come back to the floor now. Good work, boys and girls. I'm very happy with your tessellation patterns that you have created. Now, let's have a quick think. What patterns do we see in nature that create tessellation? Good work, there are quadrilaterals. Good, and there are hexagons. And there are also triangles. Now, these patterns, boys and girls, do they need to overlap? No, they shouldn't overlap, should they? And they should also have no gaps. You're right. Boys and girls, this tessellation are everywhere in nature. What I'd like you to do for the rest of the day is when you're out at recess and lunch, have a look around in nature and see if you can see any tessellation patterns. And if you can, you let me know and we'll talk more about tessellation.